Impact.
New talents, experts, and professionals in different fields.
Different topics that contribute knowledge to society.
And what's going on here in the Sultan.
It's Impact. Hosted by Tariq Al Warwani.
Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m.
Every week on the Nation Station. Impact.
New talents, experts, and professionals in different fields.
Different topics that contribute knowledge to society.
And what's going on here in the Sultan.
It's Impact. Hosted by Tariq Al Warwani.
Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m.
Every week on the Nation Station.
Welcome back to Impact, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host Tariq Al Barwani, along with our studio engineer DJ Safiya, with you here live today on Oman Radio FM 90.4. As an organization, what would it take to create more value from your customers but with fewer resources? Now the question is, who could better explain this but practitioners themselves? My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is an esteemed leader who is spearheading a concept known as Lean, which basically helps organizations create more value for customers with fewer resources. The question is, who is she? Ibtisaam Al Riyami, the People and Change Director of Petroleum Development Oman PDO, and is responsible for deploying Lean as a framework for continuous business improvement and change across the company. As the People and Change Director in PDO, Ibtisaam is responsible for all activities and policies related to people, attracting, developing, and retaining talent. In her previous role as the Director of Corporate Planning and Change, Ibtisaam was responsible for setting the company's 5-year business plan and its long-term strategy, and was also responsible for the analysis of business performance to drive improvements. Now, prior to her role in corporate planning, Ibtisaam was PDO's Information Management and Technology Manager, providing integrated solutions from infrastructure through data and document management. Ibtisaam holds a degree in computer science from University of Tulsa. She also holds an MBA from the University of Abadan and is currently in the final stages of attaining an executive master in coaching and consulting for change from INSEAD. MashaAllah. And today we are honored to have Ibtisaam with us here today in Impact to share with you all that you need to know about Lean. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ibtisaam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's always a pleasure to have esteemed guests and leaders in our program. And today, let me be first thing very, very honest here, Ibtisaam. You are one of the people that I have been following very, very much closely for many, many years. We didn't meet up, but I've been very much following up the things that you have been doing. And why am I saying that? It's because I come from an IT industry myself. And then when I've learned about the things that has been happening in IT, in PDO, and the transformation that has been done, the question was, who is the person doing it? And mashallah, it goes without saying, yourself. So I'm very, very pleased to meet up with you today here, but of course with a different hat that you have again, mashallah. Pleasure to have you here with us at Oman Radio FM 90.4.
Thank you for having me, and you've been very, very kind, over kind actually.
Mashallah. Ibtisaam, our topic today is about Lean. And I know this is a concept that has been introduced in PDO, but in few words, what is Lean and what are the objective of this framework?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You've pretty much covered Lean in your introduction. Lean is about looking at creating value from a customer's perspective, using the least resources. That's as simple as it goes. So it's about value from a customer's perspective and using the least amount of resources that is possible.
Okay, when you say resources, what do you mean by resources?
So resources can be everything. can be money, it can be space, it can be people, resources in its widest sense. Time is a resource.
Okay.
So it's all about removing waste from unnecessary waste from processes.
Okay.
So it's maybe a little historical origins, the historical origins of lean. A lot of people will know lean and its origins being really about middle of last century.
Okay.
Popularized by Toyota when they had their Toyota production system.
Okay.
Toyota today is a giant in its field, and that's due largely to the philosophy of lean.
Okay.
So lean is not necessarily a project that will start and end. As you can imagine, Toyota have been leaning for the past 80 odd years, and they're continuing, and many industries do that. It's actually a holistic philosophy. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of doing things.
Okay.
A lot of people mistake lean for it's a project that's going to be implemented like many projects.
Okay.
It's a transformation that has an end state.
Mm-hmm.
Lean isn't.
Okay.
Lean is really about pushing in the DNA of the company a way
Okay.
of working
Okay.
that has the customer right at the center.
Okay.
And it's about every single person in your organization, every single day, relentlessly removing waste.
Okay. That's very interesting. So one thing I've learned from you here saying is that lean is not a project per se, because normally projects, they've got a start and an end kind of a timeline. But for lean, no, it's more of something that is introduced and continues forever.
Because it's a philosophy. It's a way
Okay.
of working.
Okay. And if you say the objective of it, you say is to remove waste. Give me an example of waste that are there in organizations.
Right. Lean defines waste. And actually there's a nice acronym that we use to remind us, and it's actually it stands for to remember it easily. Sorry, it's Tim Wood. So
Okay.
it's actually a wooden caricature with made out of wood.
Okay.
The T stands for transport.
Okay.
So transport can actually be a waste when
Okay.
you're transporting things back and forth
Okay.
unnecessarily. Inventory, unnecessary inventory, when you don't need it and you're just using the resource of space, is a type of waste.
Okay.
So that's TI. That's M is about motion.
Okay.
So if you have to move around too much, that is actually wasteful.
Okay.
Wood, the W actually stands for waiting time.
Okay.
So if you're ready and you're waiting for permit from someone else and you have to wait for another day or so or minutes or so, if you perfect the process, you're actually going to eliminate as much as you can from the waiting time.
Okay.
O is overproduction. When you produce something, like proposals for improvements,
Okay.
but there's no capacity to actually undertake them. So you're spending the time and the resources to produce something that will just sit on the shelf. So that is actually overproduction. You also have overprocessing, when you just have too many steps in the process, unnecessary. Most organizations have this in forms. You tend to have 16 different signatures. And actually, you may actually just need 3, because normally if you have 16, everyone just says, well, the person before me has just signed. Why am I looking at this again?
Okay.
So that's a typical example of over-processing. D is for defects. So you just produce something that is not in line with the customer's specification. So that's Tim Wood. The last one is a very important one, especially in our industry. It's the waste of intellect.
Okay.
You go out of your way to recruit talent. And then you don't use that talent in the best way. A good example is when you recruit a PhD engineer, or and he or she spends most of their time looking for data,
Okay.
rather than actually doing the engineering that you've actually hired them for. So Tim Wood are the 7+1 wastes that Lean actually defines.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing the example of waste. Now, it sounds a very, very interesting concept, and I can see the outcome of such a conflict would definitely improve the organization standing at the bottom line. What I would like to know is this framework, or as you call it, a tool that is available there, Can it apply in any organization?
Absolutely.
What about the sizes of an organization, from small organization like yours, SMEs that are available here in Oman, for instance, to large organizations like yourselves in PDO? So it can apply to anything, is it?
Absolutely. It applies to your home. So
Okay.
if you think of your kitchen and your storage, we use a tool in Lean called 5S.
Okay.
But that's really about just sorting out your store space.
Okay.
And it applies to PDO, it applies to mega companies, it applies to small companies just alike, because it's actually a way of thinking.
Okay.
And that's the beauty of it, is it's actually applicable across sizes and across industries. It started in manufacturing,
Okay.
and it took a while to actually go and cross the gates, as it were, of manufacturing. It was easier to implement in manufacturing. The conveyor belt is a typical lean demonstration of how you remove waste in processes. But then by now, the health industry is big in this, government sector, insurance companies, you name it. There's some huge success stories in it. The oil industry is now catching up,
Okay.
and PDO is certainly an example of lean actually working in the industry and working very well. However, we have to acknowledge that we are merely taking our baby steps.
Okay.
But even those baby steps are telling us that this is definitely something that works in our industry. It provides tremendous benefit, and it's just transforming the way we work.
Okay, mashallah. Now, before I get into how lean has been introduced in PDO and where what is happening right now there, I have one question I want to ask, is that lean is characterized by standardization and doing things in a certain way in order to eliminate the waste. But does this limit the creativity of the individual and the organization as a whole?
That's an interesting question, and we get it a lot, actually. And we had that question ourselves. We have now developed the wisdom to understand that chaos will never breed innovation. So standardization actually ensures that everyone in the company performs a process in a standardized way, in a pre-formatted way. That standard actually uses the collective wisdom at the time. Lean ensures that the starting point is that standardized process. It uses the intellect power around to build on that standardized process, and then the process actually gets modified. So if anything, Lean ensures that you're using the collective wisdom that came before us, builds upon it, makes that the new standard, and Lean has, in the way of working, a continuous improvement loop that stresses that the status quo is not acceptable. So you're always trying to perfect the process. In Lean, you say, if you fix it once, go back and fix it again.
Okay.
So in fact, it's fertile ground for innovation. Quite the contrary, actually.
Okay, very interesting. Tell us about lean being introduced in PDO. I would like to know the journey from how did it start, how did you hear about it? I know you mentioned about Toyota being an organization that have used it. I would like to know, where did you personally got inspired about this program, got it into PDO, and where is it today?
Okay, it's been a journey of more than 7 years so far.
Okay, mashallah. So you have been with this program or this framework for the past 7 years?
I personally have joined the journey in 2012.
Okay.
But PDO had started in 2009. So where did we hear about it? In general, the oil industry is starting to pick up lean as a way of introducing efficiency in companies. With the affiliation that we have with Shell had picked it up, and we in PDO were offered that the benefit of that experience. So 2009, like many companies, we hear about lean instinctively. PDO being a pioneer of adopting best practices and so on. We implemented lean tools because lean comes with a whole bunch of tools with it, and you can treat lean as a toolkit, and you take a tool and use it. But in reality, the toolkit actually allows you to only go so far. You need the whole lean management system to be implemented. So Between 2009 and for the next 18 months or so, we implemented standalone projects, as they're called. We actually looked at whoever was smiling and bright, and we said, where are the pain points in the organization across the board? And the main intent was to experiment with lean, to actually figure out for ourselves, how does it actually work, and does it actually work in our industry?
Okay.
So we started that. We took on 22 projects. The people who are involved were believers in the first instance. It's extremely empowering. The tools actually do work in our industry. Okay. We produce for every single project bottom line benefit, undeniable success. 18 months later, what we found was for those areas that we actually had implemented lean in, it was not actually sustained. And certainly the value of lean in a company like ours is when you've improved a process that you actually replicate it. That is where the real big bucks and the real big prize is. So that got us to think as a management team, what's going on? To realize that implementing the lean toolkit on its own is not going to take you that far. What you really need to do is to look at the whole management system that ensures that lean is actually sustainable in the long run. So we took a step back, and we then started to educate ourselves. That was when I also joined the journey, as it were, and we had that humble realization that actually, although we know how the lean tools work, we needed to get educated on what it takes to actually make that transformation that the company requires to ensure that lean is here well beyond our grandkids.
Okay.
Because if you really think about the analogy that I drew, which is Toyota, there's several generations that have actually lived with the lean implementation in their company. So a few of us, in fact 3 of us, got on a plane and went and visited what we call Shingo Prize winners. Okay. So that's the Nobel Prize for Operational Excellence.
Oh, okay.
We want to actually see what do they do, what is the management system that is required, what kind of leadership, what does it take? It was, we went to the U.S. and 3 of us in a car and plane, big plane, small plane, 5 states in 6 days. So it was quite, we were quite determined. We were blown away by the potential that lean has in any company, in any size, in any industry. We got back, and the first thing, and I'm gonna mention a name that is very dear to my heart. Dr. Abdullah Lemki was one of the 3 people, myself and our consultant Eddie Virgo, who was our lead consultant. So we got back, and Dr. Abdullah had the humility to actually say, well, we've been doing this for the past 2 years, but we haven't quite understood what it takes to properly implement lean in a company like ours and make sure that it's actually sustainable. So he and I started to get lessons, actually tutored on lean by Eddie during Ramadan, 3-hour sessions.
Wow. On
lesson number 4, Dr. Abdullah said, this is exactly the kind of thing that we need to take the whole Managing Directors Committee through, every single one of them.
Okay.
And only after we've done that, then let's talk about what it takes to deploy lean in a company like ours. So we did that for the next 6 months. That's what we did. It took that long to actually train every single member of the Managing Directors Committee in PDO.
Okay.
Then we package it up with the newfound knowledge that really what we needed to do is to tackle not only lean as a toolkit, but change the whole structure. The supporting structure. I mean, you're probably familiar with the iceberg syndrome. It's not the bit that you see on the top are the tools and methods. Those are tangible, and that's what you see. But the thing that anchors a transformation like that are all the the cultural aspects of it. The leadership behind it, the systems behind it, the HR processes behind it. We developed some guiding principles. We then thought about what is the case for change for us. We made sure that the whole Managing Directors Committee understand first. Then they signed up for the long journey. The guiding principles keep on guiding us to this day. We do very frequent reviews. However, they're still as valid today as they were back then. So, for the next few years, from 2012 till today, we're steady on that journey. We take very frequent stocks, inventorizing where are we. In Lean, it's called PDCA.
Okay.
Plan, do, check, and adjust,
Okay.
or act. And it's a cycle, iterative. So that's the value of having guiding principles.
Okay.
It allows us actually to do the PDCA very frequently, readjust the path, but keep some of those guiding principles intact.
Okay.
It's definitely working for us.
Okay.
We're allowing ourselves to experiment. We're allowing ourselves to make some mistakes, as long as we keep on heading in the direction that we are hoping to head.
Okay.
So it's been a fantastic journey so far. And let me remind everyone again, it's been a 7-year journey so far, but it really is baby steps.
MashaAllah. With every new introduction of any program, any concept, any framework, and so on, especially in an organization where people are involved, you get these people who are hesitating, then challenges, and so on. How has this framework has been perceived by the resources? Here resources, you've got the people and all that. How has it been perceived so far?
What we're seeing actually is, in fact, exceeds our expectations. So yes, the lean transformation in PDO is a major change program. So it followed the same symptoms of any change program that you would introduce. You have a group of people who are just saying that just tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. It's just that bunch of people who are always ready to adopt new ideas. You have the camp that actually says, well, this is never going to work. No matter what you tell me, I'm totally convinced. And then you have the group in the middle who actually are sitting on the fence and saying, well, show me, convince me, and I'll sway this way or that way.
Okay.
That's just change management wisdom.
True.
So PDO was not any different. The advantage of lean is, and the nature of it is, it really is, very pragmatic, very practical. It is not about the big changes. It's actually about nibbling away at things. In PDO, we've actually stole with pride the phrase from another company of sand grain by sand grain.
Okay.
That is a different way of thinking, because in the oil industry we're very well known, and we're happy to take on big, huge projects that take multi-years to actually implement. Lean is totally against that. If you take a big project, then slice it and dice it to the smallest element. That by its nature, by design, gives you very, very quick wins. And so those who are involved in projects or improvements and so on, they see the turnaround very quickly. They also feel very empowered, because you've actually got a project under your belt in 3 months, for instance. Then you take the next bit and you use the knowledge that you've actually acquired to do the next bit. So we found in the beginning of the journey, like any change, you have to mandate stuff. This is here. It's here to stay. This is going to be the future. You mandate, like in any transformation journey. So the management were pretty much, after being educated, were asked to toe that line. The troops who got involved in the actual projects and project delivery, they were singing praises of it, because you can take a graduate, or you can take a PhD, or you can take someone with 50 years of experience. You can take anybody. You're actually teaching them the same tricks.
Okay.
A structured way of thinking.
Okay.
And it's so empowering, because you can actually have 2 projects executed by 2 varying levels of experience, and they will have gone through the same process.
Okay.
As you can imagine how empowering that is. So the troops that got involved, we didn't have to do much to convince them. Okay. We had to tackle the bit in the middle, and we're not going to shy away from the fact that when you start something like this, to convince people, you have to create early wins. Those early wins become the demonstrators of what it takes to do it, and whether this thing works or not. Okay. So if I answer you very in a very summarized manner, like in any change program, and this is not the first one for PDO, but this one will, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, last forever. resistance to start with. What's in it for me? And then you reach a tipping point of enough success that people are saying, well, don't leave me behind, equip me, train me, make sure that I'm actually involved. And that's where we are today. And you know, as someone who's seen more than a dozen of what we call Shingo Prize winners, it's absolutely phenomenal to see that kind of response as early as 4 years down the line.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, after we introduce the whole management system. Yes.
MashaAllah. PDO has about 8,000, I understand, employees working for PDO. That's a lot of people, mashallah.
A lot of bodies, yes.
And you guys have created a very big family. May God bless you all, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Has this program been implemented across all these people within different departments and organizations?
Yes, there's a concept in Lean called value streams. We talked about value to start with. And so we specifically wanted to start slow.
Okay.
So we took specific processes, and they're actually hanging under the banner of value streams. So we started with operate and maintain value stream. We started at the same time with well delivery process, and we started with well and reservoir management process. So those are the value streams. However, we said we're going to focus the deployment on these value streams, and we're going to leave other processes like finance, like people processes, like project delivery, and so on, to teach ourselves and to ensure that we actually understand what it takes. But in parallel, we had a capability build activity. So we started with awareness training. And so today, you will be hard to find, apart from the newcomers, anyone in PDO that is not lean aware.
Okay.
In fact, we're now about to move from lean awareness to lean basic and practical problem solving.
Okay.
Our vision for our company is that every single person, no matter where the hierarchy is, have a small set of toolkit that allows them to get into the continuous improvement cycle.
Okay.
What does that actually mean? Well, if I'm asking every single individual in the company to look out for waste, small is great, big, very nice. It doesn't matter. We all have to be relentlessly looking for waste. Then we want to equip every single individual in the company with a toolkit that allows them to actually also do the improvements. Okay. So it's not just about actually spotting waste, but it's actually doing something about it. Okay. So our vision is now to move from lean awareness to lean basic training and to practical problem solving. Okay. That's normally a journey of multi-years, because you're actually taking people through a fairly intensive piece of training, and then coaching them to do the problem solving and continuous improvement.
Okay. Is there any encouragement for the people who are adopting this quite easily or fast, or people who are also spotting some waste that needs to be eliminated and improved?
That's a very interesting question, because and the jury is out depending on the company. Some companies actually start the journey with anyone who highlights an improvement idea gets something.
Wow, that's good.
No, it isn't.
Why is that?
Not in my view. Yeah. Well, if you're pushing something across the board and into people's DNA, you want every single person to get involved in this. Eventually, you're going to move from recognizing each person for what they've done, to actually recognizing the whole company. Companies that actually implemented, you raise an improvement idea, you get recognized, you ended up stopping it after just a couple of years because it's not sustainable. However, those who are taking on lean very quickly, you can see the transformation in their leadership, their knowledge, their confidence. So naturally, there's recognition for that. It's not explicit, but it is actually implicit. It is lean teaches us ways of working and get us to be excellent problem solvers, with lots of humility. So it is actually self-rewarding, I would actually say. But we do reward people, but not as explicit as you raise a continuous improvement idea and we're going to give you something of it, because it's not sustainable.
Okay. So today, if I go to any of the PDO's employee and I pick them out and I say, "Are you lean ready?" They're going to say, "Yes, we are."
They're going to say we're lean aware.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break, Ibtisaam, and revert back to our exciting discussion on lean concept and frameworks.
Impact. New talents, experts, and professionals in different fields.
Different topics that contribute knowledge to society.
And what's going on here in the Sultan.
It's Impact, hosted by Tariq Al Warwani.
Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m.
Every week on the Nation Station.
Exciting discussion and learning today about lean, and of course, who could better explain that than Ibtisaam Al Riyami, the People and Change Director of Petroleum Development Oman, and is responsible for deploying lean as a framework for continuous business improvement and change across the company. Before the music break, we spoke about the framework and how does the framework impact organizations in a positive manner. Ibtisaam, tell us me one thing. How does lean fit into the current oil price changes that we know about? How does this program add the value?
So we introduced lean, as I said earlier, in 2009.
Yes.
And in fact, at the time, PDO was enjoying some of the best years of our history. We were we had embarked on our enhanced oil recovery, tackling the difficult oil. And so the company was doing fantastically well. But what we realized, and our management had the wisdom to acknowledge, that we needed to be ready for the future. What we saw was the scale of change ahead of us and the pace of change was actually unprecedented. So although we introduced lean when we didn't necessarily have a crisis, but because we did introduce it at that time, now with the fall of oil price, what better thing to have in the company than producing more with less?
True.
So it's absolutely a necessity, and I'm very grateful to our predecessors who had the wisdom to introduce it in the good old days.
How about the cost of this program, whether it is about learning it, implementing it, and so on, versus the benefits that you get of it?
The cost out of PDO door would be in the necessary cost of paying consultants who come and teach you the lean toolkit,
Okay.
As it were. However, we have paid for this lean, whatever we spent in the last 7 years actually, can actually be paid by 1 or 2 projects.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the guiding principles that we've put for ourselves is that any money spent on lean will be funded by the efficiency that lean produces.
Okay.
So 1 or 2 projects have already. I mean, we've made we've clocked benefits in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and those are the actual tangible benefits, let alone the intangible ones.
Okay. How do you see the value for the future years to come in PDO with this lean framework?
The value for lean.
Yes.
Well, we are certainly seeing the benefits of it today. We are setting ourselves up to continuing the journey that we started. We expand as we need to. So we've moved from tools to actually tackling the cultural elements that are required to sustain the gains. And now we're planning to take all the different components of lean. There's a lean management system, a holistic system. While in the past we actually implemented 1 or 2 parts. Now we're actually going fully fledged with the whole lean management system. We're going to see it through. Another imperative for us is ensuring that we build local capability, Omanis who can get us to be self-sustained. That tends to be a very long journey because you're taking a top-notch professional, and then you're immersing them in lean, and lean requires learning by doing.
Okay.
So you're talking about 5, 7, 10 years of experience before you can get what lean calls green belts and black belt type certification.
Wow. Okay.
So we are definitely building lean capability in the company. both in generalist terms. As I said before, we have a vision that every single person working in PDO will have a minimalist set of toolkit that allow them to get into a continuous improvement mindset and do something about it. And then the specialist who in the future will actually be our lean consultants. We also are steadily moving into our supply chain, because that's where you lock some serious value. Okay. Our contractors spend a lot of our money. So if we just keep the improvements just and efficiency just within the boundaries of PDO, we're missing a big trick out there. So those are in general terms, the steps for us in the next few years.
Okay, you mentioned about your contractors, and I know you have a large part of you depend on large part of its operation. How successful has it been to include PDO's contractor in this journey of lean?
We have offered, and just like we ourselves in 2009 started very, very very small steps to teach ourselves what lean looks like and whether it works in our industry. We're helping our contractors do the same. So we do work with some contractors, and we offer them consultancy. They work very closely with us. We have joint projects with them. Also, in the way we work, value stream thinking requires everyone who contributes to that process to be present and engaged in the process of improvement. So we're helping our contractors as companies. We're also involving them in what we do. And when we celebrate successes, let's say a continuous improvement idea that has come from one of our staff, we see our contractors, who of course live in our corridors performing work, they're also coming up with these ideas, and they're getting the same recognition as our own staff. So in fact, if anything, we're seeing the pull from the contractors. But as I said, this is a long journey that requires a lot of cultural transformation to embed it. So our contractors are involved and growing.
How can this program be implemented? But you said that it can be implemented across any other organizations and industries as well, small or large. It can be done, the framework. How can PDO help these organizations implement or learn about this program?
Well, PDO can come to your show and talk about it.
MashaAllah.
That's one way of helping society. We actually have hosted many organizations, public and private, okay, to share every single thing that we've learned, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We do not want other people to make any mistakes that we have already made. They can make their own new mistakes. So we do host them to, we have 1, 2, 3 full days of actually hosting people who are there to learn. We have joint projects with a number of government entities, like Ministry of Environment and Climate Affairs, for instance, where we actually have joint projects, the Ministry of Finance, joint projects. And that's our way of ensuring that they too are building their capability. We'd like to do far more, but at the same time we are building our capability ourselves. Okay. So at this point it's more demonstrating, advising, sharing best practices. We're also we've promised, and we're happy to oblige some organizations who are deploying lean themselves or starting in that journey. They will post their staff in our corridors, and they will be learning alongside ourselves. Okay. And as we continue to build our capability, I can see the day where we farm out some of our lean experts to also help out.
Inshallah. Ibtisaam, thank you very much for sharing about the lean framework and about the concept, how it works, and how you have introduced it to PDO, and you have seen the impact already across all 8,000 employees. Now, before the program, I have said I noted as you are one of the people that I have high respect for. I'm in the information technology. Looked it up to you and the things that you have done in PDO and the great transformation that you have done. Today you are the people and change director. So that's moving from being a technologist all the way to a change and people director. How does it feel? You got 8,000 employees with all the complaints, the good and the bad. How does it feel?
It feels absolutely fantastic.
Okay, is it? Will you go back to information technology or no? You don't want to work with systems. You want to work with people, is it?
I don't mind, but I think I found my calling in life. Move, onwards and forward. I believe that there's no coincidences in life. So I was asked to do change management. And on one lonely afternoon when I was actually cross-posted in Shell Expo in Aberdeen in Scotland, I got a phone call from PDO saying, well, we're looking for an Omani to perform a change management role. And at the time I was actually doing my MBA, and I had just finished a change management course, and I absolutely loved the topic. So if I'm going to do anything in the future, I still at heart am an IT professional. But I think the value I can add is to share the knowledge and the experience that we've gained in lean and in managing people issues. And the combination of the two, I have a very, very exciting job, and I'm very blessed for it, and I'm very thankful for it.
Alhamdulillah. And I can tell you one thing for sure is that I've got a lot of friends and people that I know in PDO. They all speak very high about you.
Well, thank you very much. You're being very, very kind. Thank you.
MashaAllah, حق يقال. I'm telling you, this is what I hear.
Thank you, nevertheless.
Now, if you have been successful in all the things that you've been working on and the project that you've been involved in, and these are very, very high nature projects with very, very high impact. What would be the things you would advise people in order to reach to the level that you have reached today? Success tips, for instance.
Wow, that
you caught me off guard, Tariq.
Yes, I thought I was here to talk about lean. I think self-belief.
Okay.
Self-belief. You don't know what you are capable of doing until you actually try it. Don't be too nervous about failing, because really you just dust yourself, get up and try again. I have also found, and I've been blessed to have a very diverse career, as you said up front. An IT professional who ends up going into into change, and then corporate planning, and then in change, and then human resources. I found every single job that I took me out of my comfort zone has enriched me to no end. So at this point in my career, I can only be very, very thankful for the opportunities I was actually given.
Alhamdulillah. Now, one of the questions that I ask most of my guests is what if you were to share with us a role model. Someone would say it's a sports player, someone would say it's a businessman or a woman or so on. Who is your role model?
I might just get emotional about it, but my father is definitely my role model. He passed away many years ago, but he still remains and will always be my role model. I have a fantastic mother who's probably listening, so hello, my mother. She's as hardworking as my father was. But I mean, they raised me to have self-belief. They must have, because anything that I was offered, I was maybe sometimes you pay the price later, but it was just looking at them and how they've lived their lives, sharing, giving, extremely hardworking, very principled, and my dad used to always say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And may God bless him and rest his soul.
Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. I'm sure your parents are very proud, apart from the people at PDO and the family, and we're all proud of you, Ibtisaam. May Allah bless
Thank you very much.
Ya Rabbil Alameen. How do you keep yourself motivated? Now come, working for PDO is not easy, and the number of people that are there, 8,000 people, and all these things that are happening in your life and so on. How do you keep yourself motivated?
Oh, it's easy. I don't even have to try, and I'm really genuine about it. I work, and I might annoy other people by saying this, but I work in the best company in the country, in the region, possibly. I've clocked, maybe I shouldn't say this, but 30 years in the company, and I honestly don't know where the time has gone. I stand on the shoulders of giants who built the company and gave us the opportunity to excel behind them. They gave us their wisdom. They shared their knowledge. As we are trying to do with the next generation. To me, I am proud of every success I've contributed to, and every failure I was part in. because every one of those is a lesson in life. But if I'm truly honest, what would really make me proud is a legacy that I've impacted someone's life.
MashaAllah.
And they became just a little bit better than when I found them.
Alhamdulillah, MashaAllah. Anything you wish to share before the end of our program today?
Well, a shout out maybe to the many men and women in PDO who are working for this great company of ours. They are what makes PDO the best place to be. In PDO we say whatever PDO puts its mind to, they make it a success. And it is actually the people who do that. It's not the systems, it's not the technology, it's not the money, it's not the experiences. It really is. So I would like to acknowledge my colleagues, staff, management, past and present, that got us to this point.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Ibtisaam, not only you are very sweet, not only you are very caring, not only you are very talented with many, MashaAllah, hats already under your shoulders. May Allah bless you daiman, inshaAllah, fi dunya wal akhirah, Rabbil Alameen. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us today on Oman Radio FM 90.4 to share about the Lean framework and what PDO is doing in this regards. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tariq. You've been very, very kind. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for this week. I hope you all had an intriguing time with us. Let us catch up again next week for an impact session. I'm Tariq Hilal Al-Barwani, along with our studio engineer DJ Safia, wishing you all a happy and a pleasant week. Ma'as salama.